Hi guys, want to learn something scary today? I'm going to teach you how to make a ball pin with fire. Hi guys, it's Abby with the Bead Place, and I'm going to show you how to make a ball pin. So I am using a pair of pliers that are not the ones that I normally use for wire working. When we work with heat and especially very high temperatures, it changes the composition of your metal. So even though this steel is a very hard metal, when we're working with the torch, it is going to start to soften the pliers here, and you don't want to use your good wire working pliers because you want those noses to always stay hard so they don't bend open whenever you're working with wire. So an old pair of pliers works. Just make sure that you're going to be able to have a good enough grip to hold firmly. So you want to make sure your hair is tied back, you're not wearing loose, flammable, billowy clothing. Know where your nearest exit is. Work in a well-ventilated area, all that. Work over a flame-proof surface. I can't stress that enough. Like an old cookie sheet will work. I have a solderite board down here. I have copper wire. You can do the same thing with sterling and fine silver. You maybe won't have as good of luck with brass, so I would stick to those three metals. And I've got a butane torch. This is a micro torch. You can use other types of torches. This is just probably the most accessible. I also have a quenching bowl. If you can find a quenching bowl with ridges on the bottom like this, that's perfect because it's going to really help you to easily pick up your piece and work quickly. If you have something with a flat bottom, it's very hard to pick up tiny pieces of metal. So let's see. What I'm going to do is I've got my piece of copper. I'm going to hold it above my flame-proof surface. I'm going to take my torch in, and I prefer to torch upright like this. A lot of people have good luck when they torch this way, and that's fine. Do what works best for you. I find that when I torch up like this, it more quickly heats the entire metal, and that is going to make your metal ball up a little bit quicker. And also I find that if I torch upright, the ball goes up evenly and doesn't kind of hang off to one side. But do what's best for you. If you feel a bit safer torching in this direction, that is definitely okay. I have the hang of it, so I torch like this. So what you're going to do, especially if you've never operated a micro torch before, is read all the directions. Know how to turn your torch on and off. When you put your torch down after you're done making the ball, make sure it's facing away from you and it's not in an area that you're going to need to reach across because this is going to stay hot for a long time. So let's get started. Okay, so you're going to sit with your legs under the table. Don't work over your lap. You want to sit with your shoulders back so you're not breathing in a lot of the gases. Butane is a relatively safe gas, but you still can never be too careful. So you're going to hold your wire like this so that you're holding kind of near the top so you're not torching directly on your pliers, and hold your hands as far back on the pliers as you can so that you're still holding them securely. When you turn your micro torch on, it needs to be facing away from you and away from other people. If you haven't worked with a micro torch before, you want to turn the gas on about midway and then ignite. So I'm going to turn mine all the way on because I was just using it and I kind of know what's going to happen. So I'm going to turn it on. You'll notice that there's an outer and an inner blue flame. We're going to use the very tip of the inner blue flame right here as our point of contact. So you're always going to hold whatever you're torching at that inner blue flame at the very tip. If you hear a hissing noise, you're in too far. And if you notice that nothing's happening, either you have too thick of a wire gauge, it's too long, or you are not perfectly in the right spot on the flame. So I'm going to just put this right in, and you'll see that shooting off, and it has started to ball up. So you see that glowing ball. I'm just going to work and make that a little bigger, but I'm going to be very careful. If it shoots up too quickly, I'm going to take the torch away. There we go. This is kind of a gradual process. You never want to get the ball so big that it's going to fall off, and especially when you're working with thinner gauge wires, it's going to ball up very quickly. So I'm just going to kind of keep working at this until I am happy with the size and shape. If it kind of shoots off to one side a little bit, you can always kind of reball it and get the copper moving again. And it will kind of position itself back into the right direction. So there we go. Now what I'm going to do is quench it, which basically means I'm just going to drop it in water. So I've just dropped it in the water, and I'm also going to just dip my pliers directly into the water. And that's going to cool the pliers as well. So it's cool to the touch. I'm going to put my hand in the water. You can use your pliers if you'd like, but make sure that you dry them very, very well afterwards so that nothing rusts, and also so that you don't remove any of the oils from the inside of the tool. So I'm going to dry this with a paper towel. If you have a cloth around, you can do that as well. But you always want to dry it before the next time you take the torch back to it, because you don't want any water splatters. So you basically have a ball pin, which is awesome. So you'll notice that there's a lot of black on the copper. As you work with it, that will start to go away. If it doesn't get as clean as you'd like it to, just from working with it, you can do a number of different things to clean it further. You can put it in an acid solution called pickle, and that's going to eat away the fire scale and the oxidation from the copper or the silver. You can use steel wool on it, which works very well. You want to use some of the finer steel wools. That way you don't scratch up the beautiful ball that you've just made. Or what you can do is use a micro buffing pad. This is a micro buffer with polishing compound added to it. And you just basically buff in a circular motion around the ball and kind of up and down on the wire part. So after you've done that, you'll probably want to harden it a little bit. When you torch the copper, you're using a process called annealing, and what that does is it realigns the molecules in the metal, and it makes them more flexible. The more you bend metal, the more likely it is to break, but the softer it is, the more flimsy it will be, so it will be more difficult to get a wrap that you are pleased with. So what I do is I usually just kind of harden it with my fingers by just doing this. So making a hook like that and bending it the other way. I'm just kind of bending it in different directions with my fingers. You could also put it in a tumbler, and that will work just as fine. You don't want to get it so hard and so stiff that it's going to break when you go to do your bends. So don't bend it back and forth, because like if you do that with a paper clip, it would break. But we're just going to get it hard enough so that we can get a nice wrap. So we want to have kind of a medium temperament to the wire. And you basically just polish it up however you like, and you have a ball pin. So thanks for watching.